right, everybody. Good morning. Hello. We've got some folks here live. We've got some folks online. Today, we are going to go back over the advertising updates. So everybody knows the advertising, legislation was put forward that changes it at the state level, requiring that certain things are now advertised in a more prominent way. Some of this is stuff you've seen before, and some I think you are going to be going, wait a minute, what? So one of our brokers created a nice little guide. I can print it out or send it to you, but I thought I'd break it down. He basically is giving 10 compliance checkpoints before you hit publish. So I thought I'd take advantage of his little flyer and go back over those 10 points to make sure you understand all of the elements that are at play before you publish anything in real estate these days. So we want you to publish with power. We want you to have the confidence to move forward on that. It doesn't mean your broker doesn't get to review it, but let's get you set up right. Number one is broker identification. Okay. And I think some people thought that this doesn't apply to website, social media, digital ads, or your landing pages. And that would be absolutely not correct. Please make sure that online Realty One Group must be visible without scrolling. Okay. So if you've got a landing page that people are coming to from a QR code you put out there, Realty One Group has to be visible, right? When they get on that page. It used to be that you could scroll down, and as long as at the bottom of that page it was, that is not the case anymore. Must be visible on the first screen. Must be easy to find. So I don't know about you, but as I get older, and you probably see me squint, I have a very tiny, this new laptop is great. It works great, but I'm sorry, this teeny tiny little screen, I'm like, okay, where is it? So please don't make it a Where's Waldo on Where's Realty One Group, okay? It has to be visible, okay? Clear and prominent. It is, again, it's required on your websites, social media, digital ads, and landing pages. Now, it's basically everything. You can use your location. There's, what's it called? Does anybody remember? Kat, what's it called? On the when you've got a site and there's a way to click through and you know the location. So you can put it on your, or the other thing you can do, change your name. Say Melissa Schwartz, Realty One Group, right? So if your name is there, you can do that. But there's a way to link to a locator, and that can also have Realty One Group on it. But it's got to be easy to find, okay? So licensee identification. Now, if you go by a nickname, did you know the department allows you to create a nickname on your license? So the reason for this is if somebody goes to the department and you're using, I don't know, I'll say Sarah Schwartz instead of Melissa Schwartz, and they go look up Sarah Schwartz and it's not me, how do they find me if I've got some other name on there? The whole purpose is that if you're advertising something, they can go to the Department of Real Estate and look you up, right? So if you're using a nickname and it's not registered with the Department of Real Estate, you can't use that nickname, okay? You can register. Yeah, that's right. So truthful and accurate advertising. Oh boy. Chat GPT, can we say read your searches, right? So don't make false claims, no exaggerations, and property information must be verified and honest, okay? So the biggest challenge I see with ChatGPT is you put in a few key things and then it goes and it elaborates all this. Wow, that sounds wonderful. It's like, except it's not your property. I don't know. It sounds wonderful, but it's not reflective of what you're selling. So please make sure if you're using, I'm not opposed to using AI, but you've got to read it before you put it in there and make sure you're not ending up making false claims, right? And a couple of key words that we've talked about. If the seller installed the air conditioner last week, is it new? No, it's not new because it's been used, right? So very rarely can you ever use the word new, right? Put down installed June 2026. Look, there are 2 days in June. It's pretty doggone new, but you can't use the word new, okay? So find the words you can use. Use the descriptions that are allowed without exaggerating, right? Impeccably maintained. Well, until you find out that they haven't done anything to the home in 10 years. Like, that's not impeccably maintained, right? So if you're going to say it's impeccably maintained, where are the maintenance records that they've called the air conditioning company out there twice a year? They've had this service, they've had that service. The pool is an excellent, please be careful with those words. And I think sometimes there's a disconnect with what the agent writes and what the reality of the property is. And some agents don't share that information with their sellers to just verify. I just want to make sure, right? You did this then. So please try to make sure that that information will A, verify it, and be honest with what you're sharing. Number 4, fair housing compliant, right? Your advertising should open doors, not close them, never discriminate, right? So some of the areas we run into this is dealing with familial status. The latest, I think if you were here last week, I talked about pool barriers and the fact that some people were like, the landlord just doesn't want to deal with the pool barriers. So it's okay. They just aren't going to let anybody with kids under the age of 6. Like, okay, that's a fair housing violation. You can't do that, right? Oh, come on, folks, right? You can't do those things. So, and I think oftentimes we run afoul because we're just not stepping back. We're trying to get the job done and get that advertising. Got to get it out. Look, time's running. I got to get that pushed out so people see it for this weekend. I got an open house. And we don't step back and go, okay, let's reread this. Sometimes if you're writing stuff, the best thing to do is put it down and walk away, even for just a half an hour, and then come back with a refreshed view of it. And think of it if you are a buyer or who's going to be seeing this, right? Think of it in that perspective rather than the listing agent or the buyer's agent, right? Usually it's the listing agent, but what is the purpose there? Who are you writing to so that they can take a peek at that with that mindset, right? Number 5, AI and digital content review. Kind of mentioned that earlier, right? But AI images, virtual staging, renderings, and digital enhancements must be truthful, realistic, and not misleading. Are you aware now that ARMLS has a required stamp that says it was modified? So you now have to put a stamp on it that says that this is not the photo of the property. This is an AI generated or virtual staging, and they actually have a stamp that you have to add onto there, and it locks it on there.
Where do you get the stamp?
It's in AI, or I'm sorry, in ARMLS.
Okay, got it.
It's in ARMLS. You go in and you pull that and put it on there. You still should be writing on there that this is virtually staged, right? And they're asking you to show the photo pre and then with, so that the consumer can see the real photo and then what you digitally enhanced of what they're looking at, so they understand clearly that it's not the same photo.
I was looking at one Sunday, and they did AI digital content, and they did not put it that it was AI.
Right.
They put the before and the after, but they didn't do.
Right. So you're still supposed to put that wording there as far as I know, but ARMLS is going to be looking for that. I will have to look up the information on that, but definitely put that in there. No, put this
stamp.
little stamp, the
Okay.
little, it's a little, yeah, I think it's called a stamp.
Okay.
So,
Could be
Oh,
dropped in there's no.
correct,
Yeah.
correct. So it's not a stamp. What is it called? It's not a stamp, but you'll see it. And ARMLS has, it's a new rule, just came out. You should have seen it either last week or the beginning of this week, because it just came out. So, and for those that are not aware, if you do want to get into doing some virtual staging, if any of you are paying for Canva, the professional version of Canva, there is an add-on for an annual fee. I think it's $50 a year, $60 a year. Very, very minimal if you think about what some of these companies are charging us. And if you are good with Canva, it is a very easy program. It's an add-on to your Canva program. You take the photo in there and you're able to add, make it a baby's room, or make, a bed with things thrown on the bed. I mean, it's amazing what you can do in there. So just something to think about, okay? But you have to disclose, right? Social media compliance, okay? Post stories, reels, videos, and digital marketing must comply with ADRE advertising requirements. We talked about this. They've got to know who you are and who you work for, right? Who is the brokerage? So, again, one of the things you can do is have your name. You can change your name on there to Melissa Schwartz Realty One Group, right? Because then they can't say it didn't say Realty One Group because it's right there. Does that make sense? It doesn't have to be on the screen, but your name is right there as a part of that post. So they're able to see it. So that is one of those areas. So team advertising rules, okay? This is probably the number one issue I have in terms of making sure the visibility of Realty One Group is clearly and prominently displayed. It's a little bit different when, and I'll step away from the team, but to the signage, right? So a yard sign says, the I don't know, the Smith team, right? Smith Realty Group, right? And then it says Realty One Group. Only Smith Realty Group is this big and Realty One Group is this little thing down here, right? Now, it's a little bit different, although still it should not be this way, but right? Melissa Smith, right? And is this big and Realty One Group is this big. But the difference is they're not both weighted the same, because if somebody were to ask who's the broker, people are going to still look at that little bottom one and go, well, that's the broker. But if you do the team or group, the question to the consumer is who's the broker, and they don't know, right? And if the team is this huge name and then Realty One Group is this small name, they're assuming that the broker is this name. And that's what our Department of Real Estate does not want to have happen. So it has to be prominent. And if anything, it has to be equal to or greater than your team or technically your personal name. I'll give a little latitude with the personal name, not like this, right? But if you've got one like this and one like this, I'm not going to be as worried about that, because I don't think you will get called in for that violation. Because again, if it's Melissa Schwartz and Realty One Group and Melissa Schwartz, people are still going to know that Realty One Group is the broker, right? But just be careful and watch that. And that's one of the things I've had to look at on a lot of these latest yard signs or even business cards, right? You can't do a business card and Realty One Group is this little dot in the bottom, or it's just the one, right? Remember, you can never use just that icon, because it could be talking about so many different entities, right? And we're, obviously Realty One Group is all across the country, the world, but that icon could be, who knows, First National Bank. I don't know, right? It could be one stargazing, like who knows, right? Nobody necessarily knows what that icon stands for. We do, but the general public does not. And the idea is that the general public has to be able to take a quick view of that and know if there's a problem, who can they call? And usually this is happening because they can't find, there's no phone number or something else. Remember your social media, there's not a phone number there. So not usually, right? They have to click through to try and figure out how to get that. And a lot of it, you know, an Instagram, a reel that doesn't have a phone number on there searching for. So think about the consumer that's trying to figure out how to connect. They've got to have a way to make that connection. So if it just has the one, they can't look that up anywhere. Who is that? I don't know. That's why it's got to be very clear that it says Realty One Group. So anytime you use the icon, those 3 words also have to be there, okay? All right. This is the one we're going to spend time talking about. So if you do any type of postcards, marketing, emails, flyers, if you do things for your open houses where you are talking about recent sales in a neighborhood, this is where a new disclosure is required. This is definitely different. I'll read it. I'm sorry, it's kind of small. So it says so this is number 8, advertising another agent's listing, right? A disclosure is required. If you are advertising a listing, hosting an open house, creating social media marketing, flyers, videos, websites, digital ads, or other promotional material for a property that is not your personal listing, include. So I'll share this language here. I will let you know that the brokers are having a very interesting dialogue on whether or not we should tweak this quote or not. But right now, we do know that this has been approved by the commissioner herself, okay? That's why it's here in quotes. This has been run up the ladder, so this is an approved set of language. If you are modifying this, please let me see it before you post that, okay? The properties featured are not representative of the licensee's transaction history and include information of the other licensee's transactions. Personally, I think it's a little wordy. We're trying to scale it down and make it a little better, but this is what has been approved. So for the time being, I recommend you use it. Does anybody understand what it means? That's the challenge, right? If you can't understand it, how the heck does the general public know it, right? But do you understand what it's talking about? If you are sending a just sold listing, a just sold postcard, and you have your name all prominent, you have Realty One Group all prominent, and you have 10 listings, right, that have just sold in the neighborhood, 10 listings. First of all, I hope you are all aware you now must be listing courtesy of Melissa Schwartz Realty One Group, even if you're with Realty One Group. You must put, if I'm the listing agent on that property, that my name is on there and prominent. I mean, not prominent, but it has to say courtesy of, right? Because what the consumer was being misled by, you're sending out this card saying just sold. The consumer's thinking, wow, you're a busy lady. You just sold those 10 listings. Nowhere on there did you say that, but that is the assumption you were trying to apply, is that you are busy. Hey, good for me. And I'd love to sell your home too. Of course, you haven't sold anything in that neighborhood, but they don't know that. They think you sold all 10 of those. So now, I mean, used to be able to, you had to say courtesy of Remax, courtesy of HomeSmart, right? Courtesy of these other companies. But if it was Realty One Group, hey, that belongs to our brokerage. We can advertise that. Well, what was happening was, let's say somebody's never sold a home in Paradise Valley. They go in and pull Realty One Group sold listings in Paradise Valley and say just sold, Realty One Group. Aren't I great? Right? No, those were not your sales. Right? And so the point is, to the consumer needs to see that these properties featured are not representative of my transactions. And in fact, they may never have sold $1 million home, but they're advertising 2, 3, $10 million properties. What does the consumer think? They think they've sold these homes, right? So this is why the department made this change. I do agree with that. I do agree that there's a misperception that has been going on for a long time. I didn't realize it was as broad as that, but it does make sense in our very diverse market that somebody that wants to break into Scottsdale or PV and has never sold anything more than 500,000 is all of a sudden advertising, you know, 2, 3, $4 million properties. The consumer thinks they got this. Do they? Right? So I was helping an agent look for a referral in another state. And I looked up, and it happened to be a $1 million plus property. And they're like, yeah, it won't be a big deal. I'll get a referral. They're going to give me money and they're going to take a reduction in their listing because that's what my uncle wants to do. I'm like, okay, I don't think you understand how this works, but okay. So I tried looking up some agents in this town, and it was an okay sized town. It's not Phoenix, right? Phoenix is huge. And I pull up somebody that you know says they've a luxury agent, and I go look at their transaction history. What have they sold this year? 400,000, 500,000, 300,000. Is that where I'm sending a referral to? It's not my referral, but sending a referral to somebody that says they're a luxury agent? I'd think twice about that. Until you could see that they've actually done some luxury homes in that area, because that's not their book of business. And I can tell you the luxury agents we have, the true ultra luxury agents we have in this office, they don't do deals that are under $1 million, like at all, right? They don't have time for that. It's not worth their time. Okay. So you're trying to find an ultra luxury agent and they're doing $300,000 transactions. To me, I'd say that doesn't add up. Okay. So you need to look at that. But look, I was doing some research, right? Yes, the consumer should be doing some research, but we've got to make sure it's clear that those are not your listings. Okay. So even if it's another Realty One Group agent, you've got to say that it's a Mark Walters listing Realty One Group. It's a Joan Levinson Realty One Group. You know, you have to list all of those, and you have to put this sentence in there. That sentence must be visible, and it can't be in a size 6 font. Like, no, it's got to be legible, right? The property's features are not representative of the licensee's transaction history and include information of the other licensee's transactions. Okay. Again, we may come up with a little other wording. I kind of like saying representative of my transaction history since it's my flyer. I'd rather say my rather than licensee, because I'm talking about me and I want them to know it's not representative of my transaction history. That's the whole purpose of this. I think using the licensees, you know, other licensee is confusing, but we're working on that. But I just want to make sure you guys understand that, because I think that that is such an important part of all of this. So how many of you have sent out just sold cards before? Anybody? You have, Linda? Mm-hmm.
I didn't know them. You caught it.
This is just changed though. This is just changed. Yeah, we got yours updated, right? And how did that flyer go? Did you get it out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
So, and you had no pushback from anybody. Did you get?
No, I didn't.
So
from any pushback on it at all.
Yeah. So it's just, she just brought this to me. I totally forgot about that. So she just brought a sample of this to make sure she was compliant. And we did have to add this language and make sure that, I think the bigger one that we were trying to focus on at that point was making sure that instead of just saying Realty One Group, that we had to add the actual agent name that was the listing agent. And no, you don't add 3 names of, 2 names, whatever. You're just the listing agent. That's the only name that needs to be on there. So that it is clearly delineated. Anybody else use just solds or some type of marketing that new to the market, maybe even that you send out? You have to add this, right? So it shows that you are not the listing agent on all of those properties that are Jessica, me and buyers can send this stuff out. Buyer agents can send this if you have buyers that you're looking at, or, interested in the area, consider, calling me if you're interested in any of these properties. There's different things you can do, especially for open houses. I think for our open houses, we used to just say, here, let me just print out some things. Well, you need to add this language so that they know, and need to make sure that it has that courtesy of. I don't know if you can pull that from ARMLS right now. At one point, you used to be able to pull a different report where it would say that. I'll have to look into the ARMLS to see if it says, it used to just say courtesy of. You could get a report that said courtesy of Realty One Group, but now we need courtesy of, Mark Walters Realty One Group, right? We've got to have that name in there. So, any questions? Anybody online have some questions?
Yeah, I had a question with the social media. If an agent's like, "Hey Nellie, will you host an open house for me?" And I'm like, "Sure." Can I just share their social media post about the open house without adding on this quote?
Yeah, because you don't need the quote when all you're saying is that there's an open house. You do need to state, if you're hosting the open house, you need to state someplace that you are not the listing agent, though.
Right, okay. Yeah, like
Okay.
courtesy of, or just include the list. Well, I mean, like, I'm talking about
No,
like exactly like sharing exactly their post, like sharing, and they'll have their name on there when you share it.
well, I think on yours, when you share it, you need to say, join me at John's listing, blah, 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 or something like that. So you can share theirs, and I get that their info there. The problem is it still has to be clear that it's not your listing, because you could be a co-listing agent. We don't know that.
Okay. Thank you.
Right? Does that make sense? So if you're not a part of that listing party, and that's where I think it does get confusing. We used to be able to say, hey, it's with Realty One Group, right? Because you can host the open house. By the way, I had somebody ask me the other day, can we host another company's open house? And you know, look, I've been doing this 29 years, and it was always the case that it was frowned upon early on not to do some other company's listing, because there were concerns about liability and some other stuff. Well, and I know we'd actually gotten a little more lax about that, mostly because of the rural parts of this state, right? If you think about a small town, we're so used to being in Phoenix. We don't think about how this affects Globe, Arizona, or Sierra Vista, or someplace that's a lot smaller, where there may not be very many listings to hold open houses, right? But when the rules changed in 2024, the problem that comes in is, if the listing agency is Realty One Group and somebody else is hosting that open house, then how can the buyer come through that door with somebody else in the house? Because the buyer can come in courtesy of the seller, right? When you, as a listing agent, open the door, you're there on behalf of the seller. They can come in, and you do not need any type of representation for the buyer because you represent the seller. But if they didn't represent the seller, how could they be there? And how could the buyer enter that home? Because there's nobody there representing the seller. That means that then the person standing there has to have representation to allow somebody to enter the home. Because think about it this way: if they were outside the door and unlocked the door, they can't unlock the door unless they have a buyer broker agreement of some type.
Yeah.
So they'd have to get a buyer broker agreement, even if it's just for showing property, to let somebody else in, because they don't represent the seller. So if you think about it that way, they can't open that door without that representation. They can't hold that open house, period. Okay. So, something to consider. But when you're holding open houses, you are there on behalf of Realty One Group, because Realty One Group has the listing. We're the listing company, right? And therefore, other people, other brokers, other agents in our office can hold those listings open. All right. I would go on to say, though, when you're doing that type of social media, again, make sure Realty One Group is prominent, and then make sure that it's evident at the property that you're not the listing agent. So if it's not yours, put a little sign up that says listing courtesy of, so-and-so of Realty One Group, or say, I am not the listing agent. I'm here on behalf of the seller, but I'm not the listing agent. So you're going to have to find out what works for you with that, but it needs to be clear that you are there separate from the listing agent. All right. Did that answer your question?
Very well.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Any other questions, folks? Okay, I'm going to go on to number 9. Referral and compensation rules. No unlicensed referral fees or incentives. Follow all compensation laws. Okay. So I believe what this is discussing is, hey, I have a listing, and Linda, I need you to go open the door for me. Would you do that? I'll send you a gift card for $25. No, you won't do that?
No, I won't take your.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Door.
For folks online that didn't hear the last part of that, because I was laughing, she would open the door for me, but she wouldn't take the gift card, right? Because any compensation has to go through the brokerage. And people, please, guys, do not go on the referral network or the whatever it is, the AZ Facebook group, and say, hey, would somebody open a door? I'll give you $50. Please know that there are people in the Department of Real Estate that are watching that site. So here, let me tell you, cops, I'm doing something wrong. Hey, come find me. Right? So please don't do that. Can I pay Linda for opening doors for me? Say I'm out of town this weekend and I'm like, Linda, could you cover me this weekend? I really don't think there'll be much, but I think you may get a call or two to open the doors. When we sell this property, can I compensate Linda?
Yeah.
Correct. Does anybody know how I do that compensation?
Well, it's through Sky Slope. I know that there's a place to put it.
So on your CDI,
Yeah.
you can write Linda and make sure you're getting their actual name through the Department of Real Estate. But you could write $50, $200. Would I like to see a little email that says, thanks for covering for me while I was out of town this weekend. I'm going to compensate you $200 when we close this deal. Okay. Now, what happens if you don't close that deal?
Well, you don't get paid.
So the question is, how are you going to compensate somebody, right? So you need to figure that out. If you've got another closing that's happening sooner, that one, you can put them on that closing. That's between you and the other agent. We don't care which property you're paying them on. It just has to be on a transaction, right? Because it's got to be through the brokerage. And that is not a referral fee. So please don't, I know referrals up there. That does not mean a referral fee. We can talk about that in just a second. That means there's somebody working on the transaction with you, and you as the listing agent have the ability to pay that. Do you need to ask the seller for their permission? No, because how it's kind of how you would pay a TC. Exactly. And it's coming out of your pocket. Right? You're not getting that compensation. And by the way, guess what? Now you're not paying taxes on that. They're paying taxes on it, not you.
Yeah.
Right? So, there are lots of things. The key here, I will tell you, and I mentioned with that email, please put it in writing. And the reason is, I'm sorry, you start getting busy and you all of a sudden are doing 3 deals and you start to close the one on Main Street and you're like, wasn't I supposed to pay somebody on Main Street? God, that was like 3 months. I don't. Oh yeah, I guess. Oh, let's just put. No, I don't have to pay anybody because I don't remember. Please, folks, make sure you put that in there, and I would put it in your own file. You can throw it in SkySlope if you want. Don't put it in the thing. Just put it in your data history. but have some place where when you get ready to write that CDI that you need to add $200 for showings, right? So there are lots of different ways to structure that. Please don't ask me how much I would pay somebody. How much would you do it for? If you were going to do that for somebody else, what would you do it for? The cost of gas today, you're sending somebody to Queen Creek and you want to pay them $30? Think again. Like, that's not even covering gas. So, you got to be respectful, folks. We do have agents that do vacation watching for you, and they do have systems set up. That's great. There are agents that are out there that do that. If you want to do that type of thing, think about what you're willing to charge and how you're going to follow up with them. You got to stay on top of the properties if that's what you're going to do, and make sure you do get paid at the close. But please do not take gift cards. Do not take cash, do not cross go. No. Okay, so referrals. Referrals are a little bit different, right? And this is a really interesting thing because I've gotten several calls on this. Hey, Melissa, I referred somebody out of state and gosh, they're not doing their job. And what am I supposed to do? My friend is calling me and they want to know about comps. I'm like, you don't work in that state. How are you giving them comps? On a referral, when you send a referral away, what is your job at that point? Done. It's done. Okay. Please don't get into second guessing somebody else. How would you feel if you were working with somebody and you've got a backseat driver that you don't know about, blah, 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 blah. Well, that's not how we do it in Michigan. You're not Michigan. Like, it's not Michigan, right? You get somebody in a small town saying, well, this is what we do. This is Phoenix. We don't do stuff the same way they do in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Totally different world. And trust me, I've talked to agents in these other communities, right? Different environment. So please be very careful. Now, if you truly feel that there is an issue, come to me. And if I feel there's an issue, we can call the broker and try to see what's going on. But remember, there are always 3 sides to every story. Do you know those 3 sides?
There's mine and the truth.
There's mine and the truth. I was going to say side A, side B, and then the truth. Nobody gives you the truth, by the way. So you have to take anything you're being given with a grain of salt, right? Because they're invested in it and they're frustrated with it. But if you just start replying to that frustration, do you know the whole story? Like, because oftentimes they only tell you the side of it that they want you to hear, right? So the question is, what is the real story? So please be careful about that. When you send a referral, you are done. When you receive a referral, that other agent is done. Now, I have done a ton of referral business. If you want to create a relationship with that other agent, it is always a positive thing for you to reach back out and just say, hey, I just wanted to update you. We had a great week looking at homes. I'll try to give you an update when we go under contract, but I just wanted to touch base. Your clients are wonderful. That is totally legal. Don't get into the ins and outs of what's going on. If they start asking you 1,000 questions, say, hey, look, I appreciate your interest, but I just wanted to keep you up to date in general on the file. I really don't feel it's appropriate for me to share all those things or whatever. Try to find a way that you don't have to answer those specific questions. But you absolutely can nurture a relationship with another agent across the country or across town, right? And how you do that is up to you. But be careful you don't get them all of a sudden wanting to be involved. They're not, okay? So keep that in mind. Also, if you do a referral, so it goes under a different, if you do a referral, you get paid as a referral agent and you have a transaction fee on that transaction as a referral agent. If in fact it's somebody in the office, you could, well, no, if you want that separation, they need to separate and you pay your fee and they get their transaction stuff. So never mind what I was thinking in there, but I think that it's important that you know, referrals are separate. Now we do have referral agents now with this company. We probably, out of this office, we have probably, gosh, I think 40 agents that are referral only now in this office. So, but several of them have said, hey, can I hold an open house? And the answer is absolutely not. Because as a referral only agent, they cannot do the business of real estate. All they can do is say, I'd like to introduce you to this person. Congratulations, you're working together. I'm not a party to this. I can't promote that. I can't advertise. I can't do anything but connect people, right?
Mhm.
So please understand that if you talk to somebody and they say they're a referral only agent, they're like, I'll hold your open house. No, you will not. Our designated broker has been very clear on that you remember they have a different designated broker, right? You're underneath Ron here. They're actually underneath Pat Kelly, and not in our company anymore. So they cannot sit in open house. First of all, they're not in our company. Right? Second of all, they can't do the act of doing real estate. Somebody were to come in and come into the open house and ask a question, they could not answer that question, right? So it's really important that you understand that. Okay. Number 10. I think someplace in your ICA and all your license stuff with the department, it says your broker must approve all advertising. Okay. Now, if you are repeating the same template over and over and over again, I just need to approve the template, right? But if you're doing new layouts every single time, I got to see those layouts. The best way to do them is, well, you can email them to me. That's fine because sometimes it's easier to see that way. But if you text me and let me know that it's there, I can jump in and usually look at it pretty quickly. Okay. It's not something that I want to hold on to for day after day after day. The only reason I hold on to them sometimes is because I am sending them up the chain going, doesn't look right. Can we really let them do this? So, and if I don't answer within a short amount of time, obviously when I'm teaching classes and stuff, that's a little different. But I try really hard to get back to you pretty quickly. If you are not getting a response, please reach back out to me because most likely you have gone down on a list of text messages and now I no longer see you because it's way down there. So, and if I've clicked on it, it's no longer highlighted. So it's like, it's in the weeds at that point. So please, I'm not ignoring you at that point. Please give me a red flag and go, hey, hi, I'm still here. So, that is number 10 with broker approval. This is what is on the bottom of this lovely little flyer. It says compliant isn't optional. It's our standard, which I actually really love. Follow the rules. Arizona law and ADR rules protect everyone. Remember, this is what's hard for people to understand. The Department of Real Estate is charged with protecting whom? Does anybody know? The consumer. Oh, you mean it's not they're there to protect the realtors or real estate professionals? No, it's to protect the consumers. So they're taking these new laws are there because they're realizing the consumers were not understanding, right? The consumers were being misled. So do it right. Ethical advertising builds trust and reputation. Win together, strong compliance, stronger Realty One Group. Right people, right purpose, right now. I kind of love that. So I do have the flyer. I thought I actually put the flyer on here, but maybe I did not. So I do have the flyer. And I will get it out to you via email. I have about 15 minutes about that we still have if people have questions. But we're just really trying to make sure that you guys are feeling confident on where and how you need to make these modifications. Yes.
Number 2, your licensee identification, use your ADRE name. My name is listed as Linda S. Childers. So do I put that on my social media pages, Linda S. Childers?
No. The point, I don't believe you have to. I believe the reason for this is that if someone goes by the name of Bill and his name is William, that the issue is that if somebody goes to the department and looks up Bill Smith, they're not going to find them. They're going to find you. They may find others that have a different middle initial, but I don't have an issue with just your middle initial.
Okay.
I have a bigger issue again if the name is just completely different,
Okay.
right? Now,
Okay.
Bill can, in fact, change his name and have a nickname for Bill. And they can do that. The department has that because so if you then search that Bill, it will come up. Now, there may be other Bill Smiths, right? But it will come up so that they do have an ability to find that person, right? So, other questions? No? Come on, nobody? How about online? Here, let me actually escape from this and see if I can get my list of people here. Who all's still on? Oh, we got 3 of you here. So anybody else online have any questions? You're raring to go with your advertising.
I think I'm pretty good now that you explained everything because I do a lot of open houses and yeah, I've got the language. So thank you.
You're welcome, Dave. So yeah, he was saying he does a lot of open houses. So, and I think a lot of the confusion has come in with this stuff that says just sold and other things. So that what did we have to put down there? So it's the 2 pieces. One is specifically stating who the listing agent and company was, and then you're not the representative of those transactions. So, all right. Anything else? Anybody got any other hot topics you want to ask questions about? You're welcome to, since I've got time. Oh, quiet when I start asking questions to people. Hey, Simon, I didn't see you on that little shift there, so your name didn't pop up. So I would say next Tuesday is our office meeting. Please come join me. Right now, the whole month of June, we are doing a drive for St. Mary's Food Bank. Please, when you come into the office meeting, I think we've got 5 items that the food bank has really specifically asked us to focus on. I think it's mac and cheese, peanut butter in plastic jars. Please do not give them glass. Unfortunately, occasionally those things fall and they don't want to deal with the broken glass. I think pasta
Yeah.
and is it pasta sauce too? I don't know what the 5th was, but and water. Cases of water. You're welcome to bring cases of water. We will get it all down to St. Mary's. So we're doing it all month long. So please bring in when you come to the office meeting, bring in something. We will share it. I hope this Sunday I'll try to send out a QR code. If you don't like going to Smart and Final, Costco, Sam's Club, or whatever, we're going to have an Amazon shopping list that you can actually order it and have it shipped directly to us. So we can take care of that for you. You know, we're going to have that set up, but it's not set up yet. So we will get that out later this week. Okay. So anything else? Oh my gosh, I'm going to give you a few extra minutes, folks. Go sell some homes. Have a great day.
Can I talk to you for about 3 minutes?
Yes, after I'm done recording here. Bye, guys.